Zero kids, it's been a long time. We have not talked for a bit. I'm sorry. I've been out getting milk, and you know, luckily I'm back. The milk is in the fridge. Don't worry about it. But I haven't really been posting meta-analyses and stuff like that for Vanguard Zero, mostly because I don't really like to make tier lists and stuff for games slash formats where I'm not playing competitively myself. And so basically once I started getting out of like playing Zero with a competitive mindset and switched to more like casually just like grinding with my favorite decks, I kind of felt disconnected with the competitive series of Zero a little bit as well, but now I've been kind of re-engaging with it. I played it a lot during the current global meta, so the whatchamacallit, not Rebirth, the Purge, etc. The Ultimate Stride meta, I played quite a lot. And now as well, I've been playing quite a bit with the end of G as well, after the release of things like ZTB at its full power and things like that. So I thought that today, you know, it's not a tier list, but I want to talk a bit about the decks that were brought to the Winter Vanguard Zero Championship in Japan, because that's what you're going to expect to have for the English one. That's going to be starting, I think, next month as well. So that's going to be the same meta for you guys, minus the Bermuda set that is not out yet for Global. But I suppose when the finals happen for the Global Championship in May, that one you will have to play with Bermuda in it too, so this should be pretty useful regardless. So let's take a look at some things. So there was the VOD of the Day 2 final, if you want to rewatch it and see some highlight games and how decks like you know, Gears and Coral and Nubatama, which were some of the more popular decks, were played. Bermuda of course being Coral as the most played deck itself, and then of course the winner of the entire event was Cha-Cha, who we've definitely seen in previous events too. And so their lineup itself as well was basically kind of like very reflective of what the format is, essentially running ZTBs. All 16 players that made Day 2 played ZTBs because as you've seen, this deck is pretty insane, and getting a free extra turn is pretty strong, especially when you have so much multi-attacking available to you. And then we've seen like the rise of Charlotte, so DI is another really good deck with the 9 stand, just basically now having not just really strong engine, and of course now being able to like soul charge more consistently and like, you know, also bring stuff back to deck more consistently to avoid deck out, but has a really annoying card restrict. So basically when you have two, I think this one was available full repressor, when you have two of them on the board and a restanding Vanguard and your opponent can only PG the entire turn, chances are they will die because you're going to attack them 4 times, and they can only have maximum 4 PGs, so they usually get screwed over a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. DI might be a good pickup as well. And then finally we have Coral. So Coral is a deck that I'm not really too experienced with. Basically from what I've heard, it is strong purely because it pluses a bunch. It has a 13k body from being a cross ride. It has many multi-attacks. Basically thanks to Crook, it just like escalates how much you can multi-attack and bash your opponent's face in. And then of course, aside from that, it's just also, you know, the typical Bermuda deal, where it is also just very good at finding these pieces and being able to bash your opponent's face down. But unfortunately I don't have the deck myself. I don't really play Bermuda, and also I have not really played against this enough myself either, so I don't really know too much about Coral's strength from like a first-hand experience, because I don't really run into it too much, but from the VOD you can see that it definitely does a lot. So Coral was another, like the second most brought deck, and you can kind of see here from the other players like Gears, Coral again. Dominate was really popular as well, and you can see some people are running like 4 or 2 Dine and then 4 or 2 of the Mujin Lord, and you can see like some of the Zeroths are like, some are played, some are not really. Like there was a Coral list that was running the Zeroth, this one doesn't, so it kind of depends basically. Another player that we see a lot, Nasturtism here, Coral, Gears, and the Dominate. So again, it's kind of like the usual pattern that you're seeing. The grade 2 lineup is usually quite different too. It's like the Bears either split or 4-4, and then the guy that makes your opponent's stuff retire as well. Some people run backup whatchamacallit, Shiranoi's, some people just run the new one and just like focus on that. This one you can see is running 4 Rinne as well. So basically the lineup is basically always confirmed to be Gears plus Coral plus a third, and the third here is the 0 damage Gavriel, which in my opinion 0 damage decks are cringe. I don't like them. This one especially is focused on just like decking your opponent out, and then you know, using this grade 1 to like bot deck your own stuff from drop all the time, and basically just be pretty annoying, and rescue check a bunch so you can just, you know, either deck your opponent out or not die, which is also pretty interesting. And then by self-damaging yourself, you also deny your opponent from healing and things like that. Chaso here we can see has the big 3 lineup too. You know, Coral, Dominate, Gears. Again, this is basically the pattern you're going to keep seeing. Once again here, the one player that did not bring, you know, everyone brought Gears, but they actually went pretty far. I'm pretty sure, where did their path end actually? I'm pretty sure they went all the way to top 4. I can't remember if they got 3rd or 4th, but they were running 9 crit Brave, which is pretty impressive, and Overlord. I think they were the only Overlord player and the only All-Mal player, and they went really, really far. So if you're into All-Mal, this will be something to look into. It's a deck that I'm trying to build up myself as well. It's still, like, in terms of, it's not running Fides, which is pretty interesting. Like, I wish I need to look back and try to see some gameplay of this deck, because I think it was actually on stream a little bit. But I'm curious how this G-Zone lineup worked out, because it's definitely very different. And then, of course, we see the Overlord, which isn't too surprising. Overlord has been explored for quite a bit, and that'll be good for you guys in global. Once again, here we see another Jet, Dominate, Coral, nothing too surprising. Here once again we see Jet, Dominate, Coral. A lot of the Dominate lists, again, like you sometimes see like a one of backup Shiranoe, but that's about it. Here again we see the 4 Rinne, which I'm also a bigger fan of as well. I'll be playing a bit more with Dominate going forward as well, so I can definitely make a in-depth video about that. Here we have the Soul Link Joker player. There was no Messiahs, despite Messiahs being pretty good. Chaos did show up though with a triple Deluge. Only 2 of the glue ball. I feel like I'd rather max out on the glue ball. I feel like Deluge doesn't come up as much. And then again, Coral and Jet. Should be a surprise to no one, say that much. Silk, another familiar face, was running Jet, Coral plus the 0 damage. Angels, I think they're teammates with the other player that brought this lineup, so basically tested together and ended up bringing the same thing. Nidaime once again also, I think, slightly different list. So some of the Angel lists were running, I think the other Angel list was running a Legion, just to prevent deck out. This one is running the Rescuer / Rearguard that pops out. So slightly different lineup, but overall relatively similar. And once again, Jet and Coral is going to be everywhere as expected. You guessed it, Jet, Coral, and Dominate is another lineup. And then Exa, of course, Jet, Coral, not Dominate this time. It's the same as the winner. It is DI. I'm not sure what matchups DI is particularly good in, but yeah, 9 crit Brave with no Fides. That's right. It's definitely the 9 crit. All kept getting to go first, which is technically not that great for 0, but yeah, DI did pretty well. This list is very different too. This one's running like no heal guards, running the cat stand as well, so still maxing out on stands of course, but and only 3 Baleful Repressors, not going for the 4 and running different PGs from the winner as well. TX had the kind of like big 3 lineup again. Here you can see also not running heal guardians, which is pretty interesting, but basically we here see another big old Dominate, big old Jet, nothing too surprising. Then Rock here running the one and only, literally the one and only player with the Fenrir, running the Ishtar Stride together with the new one from the recent Genesis Clan event. By the way, I forgot to exchange my cards for the Genesis Clan event, so you're not seeing any Genesis on this channel. Oopsie daisies, I guess. And then finally, the last player was the one of Gurgit player that popped up on stream, just running the Unite Gurgit together with a bunch of like on-hit multi-attack makers, and like basically maxing out on the like multi-attack Gurgit as well, and like GRD. So pretty interesting lists, and you can definitely see that Jet and Coral just dominate everything. Like Jet and Coral were everywhere. You can see some similarities and differences in the lists for Jet and Coral, but you can definitely see that Jet and Coral are like by far the best. So if you want to look at these lists, I will leave a link in the description. You can check them out for yourself as well. And basically, you know, this is basically the end of G meta. I wonder what it would have looked like if we didn't have Coral in the mix. I feel like it would be like Jet Dominate +1, whereas now it was like Jet Coral plus usually Dominate / something else. So will it be like Jet Dominate Charrot? Maybe that'll be the meta for English, who knows. I think the qualifiers are actually one deck formats. We're probably going to be seeing a lot of ZTB formats, or not formats, but like mirrors and stuff like that in these tournaments on the global side. So it'll be pretty exciting to see how things will pace out. But what is your expectation for the Zero meta? How are you enjoying things? What are your favorite decks in Zero right now? You know, we don't really know the future of the game yet, which is pretty unsettling. Like in JP, we're having a month with no set. Hopefully still have events, but there being no set is pretty yikes. And no new cards, like no fighter selection. We don't have GB8 yet. Like they're just not adding stuff at all, which is pretty strange. So I hope we get like Nova Grappler and Dimension Police clan events, and like OTT clan event we don't have either yet. So and you know, you can forget about Tachikaze apparently, because they don't even plan to make them exist. They could have made them a whole pack, but chose not to. And instead we got Bermudas, and now I guess we'll get a month just to like finish a lot of these decks, so everyone can play ZTBs and Bermudas. So that'll be great. That'll be very, very exciting, I'm sure. But we'll see how things will change with the clan events. Hopefully at least enough, but we'll see what happens with that. But if you like this video, please do give it a like, leave in the comments what you think of the Zero meta and what you've been playing lately on ladder, and if you're planning to play in the last well, I don't want to say last, but these upcoming Zero tournaments for global as well. But otherwise, please do subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.